What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast. He's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. We are back. Scott, my man, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I hope everybody had a happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll be talking some Lions and Packers here on Thanksgiving. What was the main meal for you guys over there in the Bischoff household? What was your favorite dish? I guess I should say.
Boy.
I should have probably told you I was going to.
No, it's good because I'm trying to think of any. I'm trying to remove the things I didn't eat out of the equation, which is, what I.
Did you eat everything that was in sight?
Of course. Take a peek.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? What was your?
Well, I've been on turkey duty for like 5 straight years, so that all started with my wife's grandpa passing, and then her and I ended up getting COVID one year, and I don't 21 or 2020, whatever it was, and we were sick and we were home. And I was like, well, I'm going to get us a turkey and I'm going to make it and I'll figure it out. And did it, turned out great, and been doing it pretty much every year since. And so I'm probably biased. I think I make a pretty mean turkey, traditional in the oven type deal. I mean, I literally had picked it up out of the tray with my 2 like little pitchfork things to put it on the thing to carve it. And literally it just started falling apart because it was that tender. So I normally go with the turkey, but I think I have to say that whoever made the sweet potato pie casserole dish, whatever the hell it was incredible. She claims that she only used like a quarter cup of sugar or something. I don't think
bullshit.
So, but it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it was a good time to, for everybody over here and all that stuff, but it was just it was a combative watch. It was like, what's happening? Because we got, like, my brother was up and he was standing in front of the TV, and it was almost like, dude, you are not playing linebacker. You don't have to assume that position. Like, it was just like, what are you doing, man? Right. And he did it so much. And then my oldest was like, same thing. Like, all right, now it's you and him, and you guys are.
I have this much.
Yeah. And they're arguing about shit and stuff, and the officiating and all the other stuff that was going on. It just was like, wow, maybe we need to start drinking or something. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of that game. Even though, like, I know we texted it to each other and all this stuff, we were both feeling pretty nervous about about the Packers matchup, and the Lions' inability to do certain ththings on offense was going to manifest. It was going to be pretty obvious that they're struggling, to protect Jared Goff, and pretty damn quick what kind of a Jared Goff you're going to get.
Yep.
Right away. So it just was, it's a bummer of a game, but it's something that everybody should have been able to kind of sniff out going into the game. The Packers present unique challenges for the roster makeup of the Lions, and they have for a while. They did in week 1. They did a couple Thanksgivings ago at home.
Yep.
Doesn't surprise me that Jordan Love came in and picked the Lions defense apart, especially when you consider they didn't pressure him at all.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. I think we talked about this before, but we could spend the next couple hours kind of trying to figure out where everything is. And we don't have any, it's not like we have any unique insight to any of this stuff. There's just so much happening. I think you got to go, and I'm going to say this a bunch, but I think you got to go to what is the most likely culprit, or what is the most likely group of things happening, and then take solace in the concept that some of that stuff is situationally, I guess, not necessarily in their control right now. Yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense what I just said, but
No, it does. I don't think you can pinpoint the problems within this team on one particular person or one particular group. I think for what we're trying to do, yes, we might simply point at, let's say, the offensive line, or we may point at the defensive line, but it's collectively all of it. And I know there's still Lions fans out there that are bitching about the refs. I agree with you. Matt LaFleur did not call a timeout on that false start. That was a 4-point swing, but you lost by 7. So spare me with that. I don't really want to hear about offensive pass interference compared to defensive pass interference. It is what it is. I don't really want to hear about foot inbounds, double tapping with the right foot, the left foot coming down late, so on and so forth. I don't really care about all the specifics on that, because at the end of the day, like on that Wicks touchdown, Brian Branch stopped running. He stopped.
Yeah, that was so weird, wasn't it?
And he claimed that he was stopping to stare at the quarterback, and him saying that, he's telling on himself, because I don't know if this is like, if I'm wrong, but I don't know many DBs that stop and stare at the quarterback. You go and you find the football. I understand maybe getting an eye on him, but you're still in the play, and he just kind of stopped right at the goal line. And I don't know. He made a mistake there, and he kind of did it the week before against the Giants with Wan'Dale Robinson along the sideline. He just stopped running and gave up play, and he's not playing well. He's not playing well enough. And I think that's the story with this team. They've got a lot of dudes on this team, but a lot of these dudes are just not playing well enough right now. And I think that's the only way that I can summarize this team after another disappointing loss. And we talked about this, in depth before the show. This team has not played good football for close to 7 weeks. They've been very hit or miss. They've gone 2-3 out of their last 5. I think it's 3-4 or something in their last 7. This was a football team that was 4-1 at one point. They're now 7-5, and they did get to the gauntlet of their schedule. But we can sit and try to say hey, this team is this, or the problems are with this, or what. You can find the scapegoat. But as I pointed to in my post-game column on Friday, there are no more scapegoats. It's just, this team is what they are, and they're not very good. And it just is what it is. They're not good enough right now. Maybe they will in the last 5 weeks. Maybe they'll figure it out. I don't want to be negative on this show, but the energy feels different. We've been doing this show for a long time. I believe this is our 3rd or 4th season here on the Detroit Lions podcast, running these shows, but it feels different. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like we're playing with house money anymore. It feels like everybody's betting against us. And I know that's how the Lions like it, but they were also proving people wrong when they were doing that. They're not proving anybody wrong now. They're proving everybody right, that they were a flash in the pan. And, I don't know. The question that I have is the season over? Is this season over? And maybe you make that determination on Thursday after the Cowboys game, which we'll talk a little bit about. But for me, after losing to the Packers, you have a huge mountain to climb to make the playoffs, and you probably have to win out. You got to get 12 wins to probably get in the wild card spot, which is crazy. Yeah. But it is what it is. And there's the margin for error in the NFL anymore, especially in the NFC, is small. And the Lions have made way too many errors, and they continue to do so.
Yeah. I mean, that's, so I guess the question there becomes, we think they're making mistakes. We think they're not executing. We think that they're not, they're missing details, all that stuff. But is it possible that right now the players that they're missing, they're just unable to overcome their own problems? I guess, does that make sense? Think about Graham Glasgow. I know he didn't play last week, but before that, I mean, he's giving you everything he's got. Mm-hmm. But there's a limitation, right? There's a cap on on what he's able to provide, simply because his body's just I think he's just done. And I think there was a moment 2 weeks ago where he looked. It was a couple of plays where it looked to me like he was in full recognition that I can't necessarily do this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like I know I want to block that guy. Just can't do it. You know,
Yeah.
I want to execute at a high level for my teammates and for this offense and all that stuff. But the body's just like, we're not really capable of doing that anymore. It made me wonder, you know, and then it's like, all right, so you've got, specific to last week, you have a backup to your backup center playing, you have a backup to your left guard playing. You're playing against a team that has already showed you in week one that they're very difficult. It's a difficult front to handle. And you got all these players missing. No Laporta, right? No Brock Wright. Talpi is a blocker. There's just a lot missing there. And I know I'm talking about a 1 week sample size when we just mentioned that they've been playing relatively, you know, they haven't played real good football in a while.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, you know, it's hard to say what I'm saying. And now I'm thinking it out, it's like, well, what about, you know, 4 weeks ago when they did have Laporta?
Yeah.
And Glasgow was playing. Well, you still weren't playing great then.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes me wonder if we're just, if our expectations are just a little too high for what their roster currently is. And I think that in some cases there's probably an element of truth to that. Like we're expecting them to easy peasy, you know, 13-4, get into the playoffs when, you know, they have played a lot of football. They've had a lot of guys miss a lot of time and not get any time off, having to recover and get back. You know, I maybe they're just out of gas.
And that's what I put in my piece at, you know, after every game, I do like a morning coffee routine where we sip a coffee and we talk it out. Now, granted, I wrote the article the night before, but I sit there and I sip the coffee, read it back on the next morning. But I wrote that too. I said, you know, this is a team that has played a lot of meaningful football over the last 2 seasons, and they play a physical brand of football, probably more physical than just about any team in the league. Like that's who they are. Gritty, punch in the mouth, take your kneecaps. We know the deal. And they're just not doing that this year. And I think specifically with the offense, yes, there is a gap when you go from Ben Johnson to John Morton. But there was this thought that like Dan Campbell still is the identity of this football team. And I think that has shown up on occasion throughout parts of the season in every single game. You look at the Commanders game, you look at the Bengals game, you look at the Bears game earlier this year. It showed up this season where they are physically able to dominate the opposition. Yeah. But when the things get kind of turned upside down and they can't get out of their own way, they go to show kind of what football team they are. And I don't know, again, we can't pinpoint where the lack of execution, who is it on? The easy button is to say it's on Dan Campbell because, yeah, it is on the head coach. But at the same time, like when you're trying to execute a duo block and you've got the rookie right guard in there, a backup left guard in Awasika, and the backup to the backup center in there with a couple of third and fourth string practice squad tight ends, you're not probably going to execute duo the way that you want. Yeah. And, you know, as you said to start us off, we could sit here for a couple of hours to try to pinpoint it. I just dropped a film clip earlier today about, you know, a jumbo set look from the offense. Everybody was like, oh, well, just play Dan Skipper. Now that Laporta's out, you'll have the extra blocker. It's easy peasy. Well, when you line up your formation with a Twins formation and you've got Skipper as essentially the tight end to the left and Ross Dwelly as the tight end on the right, and you've got the Twins formation out wide, well, the team, the defense doesn't have to honor anything to the left side of the field because you're not going to throw the football to Dan Skipper. And even if you do, so what? Even you throw it to Dan Skipper, he's getting you what, 3 yards? You're better off running the football. So teams understand that, and it dictates what you do. And when you come out with these jumbo sets, you're essentially giving up one side of the field in the passing game. And they've just become very one-dimensional on offense, force-feeding Gibbs, forcing the football to Amon-Ra, sprinkling in Jamo. And Jamo has played much better over the last 4 or 5 weeks than he had, you know, during middle parts of the season. Yeah. But there's just too many things. And I'll kind of end it with this. I mean, because I don't I don't know what else I can get into on the Packers game other than like, defensively, we weren't getting home. Offensively, we weren't executing. But at the same time, like when we look at the defense last year, they every single week were putting it together with duct tape or glue or whatever with practice squad guys. And we said this on before the show. It's easier to be in the right on defense than it is on offense because, as you said, it's reactive. Well, on offense, you have to be right almost all of the time with your angles and the way that you execute. And when you're not, you're going to only get 2 yards. You're only going to get negative yards, whatever the case may be. And that's kind of where they're at.
Pressure and it's an incomplete pass when it's a pretty wide open guy, right?
Exactly. And again, I know like they've been playing with Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker for most of this season, but Decker has been banged up time and time again. Penei Sewell has been more banged up this year than he ever has in his career. He has not dominated the way that he has in the past. Meanwhile, you get miscommunications across the board. When I posted a clip the day after Thanksgiving, Anthony Firkser's out there on the field holding his arms out like this because he doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know where to motion. And all you're trying to do is run like duo or something like that. And you can't even run it. And it becomes an illegal formation. And these are things that, like, yes, it's attention to detail on the coaching staff, on the leaders that they have on offense. But at the end of the day, like, it is on everybody involved. If your number gets called to be on the 53-man roster, you need to be ready to go, especially a guy like Anthony Firkser. You've been playing in the league for a long time. You know you're right from your left. You know certain things in the game of football. And I'm not going to get into all the terminology and coach speak on it, but this is just a football team that has just not gotten right at all. And I think, I don't know. I'm trying to find a scapegoat here to try to like cap that off on my thought, and I can't.
I think there's some things that we can point to. The offense is, would we say that the offense is underperforming relative to last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the third highest scoring team in the NFL in points per game.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like there's still talent all over the place. They have playmakers everywhere. They have the ability to do really good things on offense. They're not consistent enough. Right. And I think that's like, we can see that they're not consistent enough on first down to lead them to consistency or sustaining drives on third downs. But, the overarching concept of some of the conversation that's been like happening around the Lions right now is that it feels like some people, or there's a conversation around Dan Campbell possibly losing the team, or the Lions losing their identity, or however you want to say it, right? Sometimes, like, we don't have any answers for any. I mean, we can observe things that are going on and have whatever. Dan Campbell didn't forget how to call games, or didn't Jared Goff didn't forget how to run an offense. None of that stuff's happened. So we gotta just kind of set that stuff to the side.
Yeah.
I think the biggest picture takeaway is that they're just, they don't have the personnel to do the things that they want to do on offense.
Yep.
And that I think is maybe where we need to have a little bit of a deeper conversation around what's happening with the injuries and all the stuff that goes on. I mean, some of the injuries are crazy. Like the Laporta injury is just kind of like, he got drilled in the middle of back. That's not necessarily an injury that I would say is in and around, the Lions' fault. But does anybody really? I mean, is anybody else questioning some of the strength staff and what's happening there and their inability to get guys recovered and past injuries? Because sometimes these things linger. And it just seems to me like there are issues in and around that. Like,
well, and it's not even about getting the guy. I'm sorry.
You're good. Go.
To not even get guys healthy and get them back on the field, but give them the proper diagnosis of what the timeline looks like for those injuries. Like Terrion Arnold, for example, we thought his season was done. He missed 2 games and he's back. And I get he was out, shortly after with a concussion and whatnot, but like he's back. You had DJ Reed dealing with a hamstring injury. I'm assuming it was a pretty significant hamstring injury, but he missed a significant amount of time. Yeah. And then, you look at Josh Pascal. I know there's things that are beyond his control from an injury standpoint and things that, it's going to take time to process things that are going on with inside of his body. But at the same time, you were given a diagnosis of like, yeah, he'll be back and ready to go. And so with that, you assess the situation with his injury and go, all right, we'll put him on, this list or that list, and we'll get him back after week 10 or whatever the case may be. Then you open up his window and he's not ready to go, and then you got to shut him down for the season. It's like that's I think the stuff that it irks me. Guys getting hurt, you could get hurt falling off the bus. You could get hurt, look at Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils. He goes out on a bar stool thing. Next thing you know, he's out for 6 to 8 weeks because he messed up his hand. It is what it is. Like, things can happen in life, but these are guys that are, getting told the organization's getting told one thing, and the players, their bodies are doing something completely different. And the timelines are just not adding up. And I think that this is, certainly something worth having a conversation over. I really agree with you. I think it is something that is concerning. And I think long term, we could see guys have maybe potentially shortened careers here in Detroit because of some of the injury problems that are stemming from maybe the diagnosis of this training staff.
Yeah. And again, we don't know, but it's sometimes you just got to point to the things that are most likely and most logical to think about. Like, the Lions are still an explosive offense, right? Yep. But there are times when things just get derailed because of either young players or, we've talked about Glasgow. The interior pressure is a problem for Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff would tell you that he has not played well. Yep. He's not played well enough at times. I think about the Philly game, and I know that Campbell's calling the plays, and there's some questioning as to whether or not he's lost his mojo as a play caller. And it's like, no, they left a lot of meat on the bone in that game. There are plays there to be had. They just had a quarterback who was a little jittery, probably hurry some throws that he would like to have back. But in his defense, it's not like they were doing a real good job of keeping him clean either. I don't know how many times he got hit on Sunday or on Thursday against the Packers. He got hit plenty. The
one he got smoked by Micah Parsons. I thought he was down. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that. So it's not that we're not, it's not like Jared Goff's tough as nails. He's got a big arm. He can do everything. It's just that there are moments when, and there's specific moments. There are things where it just seems like in the past, things have just kind of strung along for them in a good way. They haven't this year. And now it's like, all right, got to look at their approach to injured players. And that's something that we'll talk about in the draft process, right? There are moments in the draft where they tend to want to go, like, think Ennis Rakestraw, right? He's got soft tissue stuff going on. And then he's got some issues, right? And I want to say he had like a hernia thing going on.
Yeah.
In the pre-draft process.
ACLs, hernias, you name it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's an injured player that you take, but it's not just him. It's other players too. Pascal was injured coming in.
Yep.
Onzarike was injured coming in. There's a lot of guys that they're. It's almost like they love the discount. Maybe that's something that they've really got to think about, because you're bringing guys who are banged up into a place where you can't get over the amount of injuries that you have on a pretty regular basis. I mean, today we're talking about Kirby Joseph and whether or not, and some of it's just crazy luck too, but like whether or not his knee injury is going to be a long-term thing that either limits his career. I know in the past, he probably has microfracture surgery, which is not a great thing. It's not, it doesn't lead to a great outcome for knees and joints like that, right? So, but there's just so much of this where it's like it's almost impossible to think that this is just like shit luck, even though there is a lot of shit luck that's going into this.
Yeah.
But sometimes you make your own too. And, I wonder if, and I'm not knocking Brad Holmes, because Brad Holmes has done, an incredible job of taking this team and putting them in a position where our expectation is that they should be challenging to win the Super Bowl. And we're disappointed because they're not doing that right now. The reason why our expectation is that high is because of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell.
Yep.
So, we got to recognize that these guys are still great at what they're doing. It's just, there are things that are just going on that make you kind of shake your head at times. Some of that is a feeling like it's us against the world in and around the shit that does happen, that you just go like, huh. And again, like in that game, like on the 4th down to J-Mo where he drops the pass, you got to make a better throw than that. But J-Mo's got to catch that pass. You got to extend that. You got to make that play.
Yep.
If they get that play and they put the ball in the end zone on that drive, different game, right? So it just feels like they're so small. The margin for them to lose or win is so small that, not picking up a guy on 1st and 10 and letting Goff get hit is a huge problem for them.
Yep.
Because then it sets them back and they just can't overcome that little thing.
Yep.
When I think last year they could on offense.
Yep.
2 years ago they did on offense, right?
They were able to build a rhythm and build an identity. And that's been the common theme over the last week or two. What is the identity of this football team? People don't know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the identity is. But they were able to find a rhythm, and I think that's when they sustained a rhythm, and that's when they found their identity in games. And they did it week over week, especially last year. And this year it's been a little bit different, like using David Montgomery as a prime example. Maybe he has lost a step. I don't know. But we can all agree that the offensive line has not been right, and I think that alters the success of your running back for sure. I mean, yeah, sure, Jahmyr Gibbs is explosive as all hell. We know that. Probably the Lions' best overall player. He's going to make things happen every time he touches the football. But at the same time, there are times where he only gets 1 or 2 yards, and it does happen a lot. And we've done it on this show. We're like, well, if you eliminate this 70-yard run by Gibbs, he only had 15 carries for 40 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, it changes. But David Montgomery, prime example, you're not giving him an opportunity to get into rhythm. Chris Wecht from Fantasy Points, he put this out there this morning. David Montgomery hasn't seen over 30% of the design carries since week 10. He has only played over 50% of the snaps once in the past 7 weeks. If you go back the past 7 weeks going into this Cowboys game, the Lions have not played good football. How can a player like that, who I have always said, and I think you've said it, and a lot of fans have said it, he's kind of like the engine of the football team in a sense. He gets things going. He helps you build your identity. He helps you sustain your rhythm. Well, now you're not playing him in 50% of the snaps because you're forcing the football to Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra St. Brown. And at times it's Jameson Williams. But, I mean, it goes to show, if you didn't have Amon-Ra, you had J-Mo. He's able to step up and make plays. Why they can't find the balance, I don't know. I think I know where the problem is. It stems back to week 1 of this podcast. John Morton doesn't know what he's doing. I think there's a reason to why he's been in the league for so long, but so many different places. He doesn't know what he's really doing. But
it strikes me in that idea.
That's my scapegoat. If anybody wants my scapegoat, there it is.
No, it's cool. And I think it's reasonable to think that their play calling is different. But I wonder, you've got Amon-Ra, who's primary read every time in just about every concept, right?
Right. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. He steps out and all of a sudden J-Mo turns into
a dude.
Yeah, because he's primary read in the concept.
Yep.
So I wonder if the quarterback can't get through progressions because of pressure. And is that part of it's primary read, Amon-Ra, and check down. I'm not even looking past the primary read because I don't have time to. It's he's covered, or I don't like the way that safety's rolled over there, or whatever it is. So now it's I'm hitting Laporta on the check down, or I'm hitting the running back in the check down. I think there's a lot of that where, again, it's kind of focused in on the O-line and the inability, and it's not always. It's more of the like him anticipating that, oh, I'm going to get pressure. I don't have the time to be looking for JMO.
Yeah.
I just don't. So I'm going to just get rid of the ball. Yep. And I do think that there is a lot of that where we'll see. If Amon-Ra's out this week, I would expect JMO to go off against the Cowboys because he's going to get a bunch of targets and Goff's going to be looking at him. And if he's not open and they roll a safety over the top of a coverage, of a route concept, he's just going to check it down. Yep. So they're not going to, Tesla's not going to get peppered with targets because Goff's never going to really be looking there. Right. So, and I wonder how much of that is happening. Again,
it's 100% happening. It. I know it. It's happening. It's 100% happening. I also think, I genuinely believe John Morton, and again, I'm going to my scapegoat here. Dan Campbell obviously has the say. I know he's the one calling the plays now, but I genuinely believe John Morton came in here and put together an offensive game plan based off of the fact that he thought Jared Goff didn't know what the hell he was doing. Part of me believes that because I see no more deep shots in this offense. I'm trying to find the stat on it because, I know we're pointing back to pressures. That's kind of the scapegoat that we're really looking at here. And I probably should use the word scapegoat loosely. I'm not saying we're all pointing fingers, but we're just trying to diagnose what the problems are within this offense. And when you look at EPA, the quarterback efficiency, and again, I'm not a stat guy, data person. I like looking into it, but I don't know how they figure this shit out. I would much rather know the X and O before whatever, but
EPA is a fantasy stat it has no business in. I'm gonna piss off the fantasy nerds, but and I'm one of them. But EPA is a fantasy stat,
exactly.
So,
but up at the top of the list is Jordan Love plus 0.31. If my stat is under 1 and I'm dealing with decimals, this is dumb. I don't care what you say. We're not even dealing with whole numbers. We're dealing with fractions.
What's it all mean?
Right. Yeah. But at 11th on the list is Jared Goff at plus 0.17. At the bottom of the list is JJ McCarthy. He's got a negative next to his. So it just goes to show Jared Goff's still playing fine. It's not, and I'm not saying that you're saying he's bad or anything that.
No.
But he is dealing with pressures. He is dealing with issues that, just aren't working out for him. But I'm trying to find the stat. Because Colton Pounce.
I think with him, there are times when there aren't pressure. There aren't pressures. There isn't somebody in his face, but he's anticipating it because he doesn't trust what's happening in front of him. That there were a couple throws in the Philly game where it was very obvious that he hurried. He didn't have to, but he did. And it's, in some ways, I feel it's a little unfair because you're asking a guy who might have just got smoked.
Yep.
To completely forget that he just got smoked, and hey, just hang in there. Well, you do it. I don't want to do it. But you know what I'm saying? It's I think there's a touch of unfair in that, in that criticism, but their margins for success are so low. Not success in scoring points because they're still doing it at a crazy high level.
Yeah.
The margins for them to string drives together and stay on the field, to keep the offense on the field is low. And I don't know exactly what the numbers are as far as how much they're punting as opposed to how much. I don't know how much they're. I guess the best way to be thinking about it is how many first downs have they converted? Or how much are they converting on third down? It seems like it's lower than it has been in the past.
Yep.
Probably marginally, but it just feels like there's a disjointed sort of what exactly is happening on offense because there are times when they can't do simple things because of pressure or because a defensive player might make a great play.
Yep.
And then some of the looks that they get on fourth down, last week the fourth down run to Gibbs up the middle, and he gets smothered 3 yards before, behind the line of scrimmage. It's it's got to be, it just feels disjointed and not necessarily, smooth and effective like we've come to know this offense, in the past.
No, 100%. And again, the defense does not get a free pass on this for anybody out there. Like, the defense has given up close to 900 yards in their last 2 games, close to 60 points, I believe 58 points in that 2-game span. Yeah. They are not playing well enough for them to win. The pressures are not getting home. I don't care how many pressures and QB hits and records and graphics that are made about Aiden Hutchinson. You got paid $180 million. You're not getting home. It is what it is. Myles Garrett's getting home. Other guys are getting home. You need to start getting home. And again, you mentioned this earlier, like, he did not get a full off season. He was rehabbing. He has not really gotten a moment to like take a breath as a normal football player and like do normal football player things. He's been constantly trying to get his body right and back so he can be on the field and produce. But now it's kind of catching up with him. Meanwhile, the guys around him are not picking up the slack. But offensively, the last thing I'll say here, and then we can move to the Cowboys. But like, after the Eagles game, going into Thanksgiving, I had mentioned something, and Colton Pouncey from The Athletic, who breaks down the lines, does a great job. He had quote tweeted this, but my tweet was, the Lions offense needs to start taking some deep shots a few times in a game with Jamison Williams, Khalif Raymond, or Isaac Tesla. The recent theme from defenses that I'm noticing are safeties buzzing down and taking away some of those in-breaking routes because we run dagger concepts. So what do teams do? They'll shift to a cover 3. They'll take that second safety and bring him down. The other one will have the deep or middle third, and everything's covered. And when you don't take a deep shot, and you don't, which they don't, Colton Pouncey goes, only 6.8% of the Lions' pass attempts this season have traveled 20 or more air yards, 32nd in the NFL per True Media, currently the 4th lowest rate in a single season over the last decade. He added to this, the Lions have allowed the 8th lowest pressure rate, 33.4%, and our 15th in sack rate, 6.1%. Not great, not terrible, but it matters more here, given the timing-based offense plus lack of mobility. Still agree that taking a shot or two might help if it's not forced. And I think that's the thing. Like, you're not executing on 3rd down and 4th down. You're not executing on 2nd down and putting yourself in manageable 3rd down situations. You're not taking shots down the field. We can point fingers at, whoever we want to, but it's just collectively, offensively, it's not gelling and it's not ironed out. Maybe it was Ben Johnson taking the whole pie. I don't know. I mean, we could sit here and discuss for hours on this offense because it isn't just one thing. It's not like the problem is Jared Goff. It's multiple things. And I think we have all acknowledged that at this point.
If Ben Johnson was in Detroit today, stayed in Detroit, and had the same issues up front, I think we would have multiple blowups in the media around their offensive coordinator, and his frustration in and around their offensive inability to string together drives. Right.
Yep.
That's kind of like, I think Ben Johnson is a very detailed guy.
Yep.
Obviously. I mean, and he's really good at putting together a run game and all those things, but like, I don't know that, again, I think that there are plays to be had out there that they're just not executing at a high enough level.
Yep.
I don't love the idea that they're getting sacked a whole bunch while not pushing the ball down the field, enough. Do you remember the JMO over route that we used to see? Like, I missed that thing.
It's not a weekly thing. I don't know. And that's the thing.
I don't remember the last time they did it.
I mean, it was the Giants where they had this screen, the designed screen to JMO that got called back from Glasgow being a half yard upfield too far.
Yeah. But that's JMO drifted on that and got too far upfield himself. That's on JMO, not Glasgow.
No, I know. But, and it's, dude, I don't know. We could, like I said, we could go on and on. It's a magnitude of things. It's multiple things that are just having a huge impact on this team. And it's causing me feeling the way that I feel right now, where I feel like the season is over. Because at least, you might make the playoffs, but I just don't trust that you're going to win the big games in the playoffs this year because you're not doing it. Like last year, you won big games. The year before, you won big games.
Think about the defensive lines that they're going to see in the playoffs. Just go through them. Let's go through them.
Go play Seattle. Good luck. Leonard Williams playing out of his mind.
Byron Murphy.
Right.
Good luck. Seattle. I don't think you want to deal with Philly's D-line. You certainly have struggled with Tampa's D-line at times. Does anybody want to play the Rams? We're going to see the Rams in a couple of weeks. Nobody wants to deal with Jared Verse and everything they got.
Yep.
I don't know
Young.
that. Yeah, Byron Young. But I don't know that. I don't know that they're set up to compete. And again, this is a kind of a pessimistic view because of where they are. You get Dallas this Thursday, and we do need to talk about the defense just a touch because we've talked about the offense so much. And I don't want people to think we're just glossing over their defensive issues because there are issues. But I don't know that. I mean, I think you're right. I think there is a little bit of this year is a lost year. And it feels like in hindsight, we should have known this after week 1, which is a bummer that we fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, and expected more. But I think that's a testament to Brad Holmes. Is our expectations are they should be challenging for big things late in the season. But to the defense, it's just confusing to me at times. Their usage of Aleem McNeil as an edge player, I hate it. I hate it. It's almost like it's almost like if you want to throw the ball and get 8 or 9 yards, cool. Right? Like go ahead and double Hutchinson's side of the field and you can chip over there and you can double over there. That guy's never getting home. And yeah, he's going to push the tackle a little bit, but the tackle's going to widen and it's so big of a space that McNeil's never going to be able to
close it down. Yep.
Yeah, he's never getting home there. And then you see him in other situations where he'll take the center and just be like, all right, you're going into the quarterback's lap. That's his strength. So I think playing him as an edge player is just losing. Again, you mentioned it. We've talked about it a little. I think Hutchinson is probably physically just maybe he doesn't even know it, but he's just gassed. Same thing with McNeil. McNeil spent the entire offseason rehabbing from the ACL.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of those are your 2 best defensive linemen. And I think they're in and maybe this is a hopeful thing going forward. Hoping against hope, I guess, is that they'll kind of clear that last hurdle and kind of start to feel like themselves. And I think that we saw a little with Hutchinson. I think we saw early in the season that he didn't have the first step that he had last year. And it's kind of to be expected. He suffered a pretty catastrophic injury. And then it felt like there was maybe a 3-4 week window where he did look like, all right, he's back. Yep. And now it's almost like it's fallen off. And yep. I just wonder, these guys have run the gauntlet to get back and to try to put themselves in position to make plays for their teammates on defense. And they're just, like we've talked about with Glasgow, there's just not much more to give. Davenport returned last week and I don't remember. I don't know.
He didn't do nothing.
I don't. So I think that if you're not going to be able to generate pressure and force a quarterback to even consider that he might be uncomfortable, you're going to give up lots of points and yards to any quarterback in the NFL. Yep. I mean, McCarthy picked them apart in some ways.
What a bad loss that is. What a bad loss that
that's
is.
The one where you go, what, son of a bitch, this is the one that's going to haunt you.
That's the one that changed my tune. Losing to them is what changed my tune.
Yeah, and it's like, I know that we have. I liked McCarthy coming out. I thought that he, there's a cerebral nature of the things that he does, but clearly a very, very raw player right now.
Yep.
But there were moments where he ate you alive because you can't get pressure. it's just, and then you look at Jack Campbell's playing just incredible football. It's not good enough. Derek Barnes, same thing. Same thing as
did he play on Thanksgiving?
He did, but it's the same sort of concept that he also recovered from an ACL injury, and it's the same sort of stuff. Like I set the trap in my front yard. I dug a giant hole and then I drove my tractor into it, getting distracted by Jahmyr Gibbs and all of his shiny happiness. That's kind of how this whole thing feels, is like we should have seen some of this coming. This is why, sort of like trying to figure this stuff out is difficult, because in hindsight, it's easy to see that, yeah, we should have thought the Lions had significant flaws coming into this season. And yes, they were returning a lot of players, but it just wasn't going to be the same this year.
Yeah.
A draft class really never comes in and helps you right away. It just doesn't. I mean, look at, the 2024 class really isn't helping them all that much right now.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Right?
They have had struggling draft classes in back-to-back seasons, and this is a football team that saw some pretty strong contributions from the 21, 22, 23, like over time. Sure, there's guys from the 21 class that are not here anymore. But this is a team that you look at 2025. You've got Tyleek, who you use here and there. We had questions a few weeks back about what's going on with him. He's not playing. Then you've got Tate Rattled, who's been hit or miss, but Miles Frazier was dealing with an injury. Don't know. Ahmed Hassanin, he had an injury. Dan Jackson had an injury. Dominic Lovett, the practice squad guy. Isaac Tesla, you don't use him on offense. Up until he got hurt, or up until Amon-Ra got hurt, you didn't use him. And now you're putting him in a position to try to be a dude, and he's not ready to be a dude because you didn't use him all year long. It's mind-blowing on that stuff. And then you go to 24. I'm just jumping ahead here because I had this booked up ready to go because that was my next point. Go to 24. You had Terrion Arnold. Okay, fine. Ennis Rakestraw, he's played like 6 snaps. Giovanni Manu, same deal. Can't stay healthy. I don't know why you drafted Sion Vaki you went out and got Thomas Harper and Daniel Thomas to play safety while you drafted this kid and bragged about him coming out of Utah. He has 10 touches on offense in his career, doesn't play defense, and you drafted him to play special teams. I don't understand it. Mekhi Wingo's a healthy scratch every single week. And then Christian Mahogany, he got hurt. Like, it's all injuries here. So
yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know, man. We'll see on all this. We'll see. Let's go Cowboys. I think 48 minutes of bitching on the Lions offense and their problems have done enough. Unless you got anything else to add.
No, I mean, it's at some point it's just like it's repeating the same stuff, and it's just,
feel like a broken record.
Yeah, and we're frustrated, but also I'm not trying to be irrational about what's happening. I think that it's still an extremely talented football team.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate how this season has played out, that in some ways, some of the injury things that we thought were a 1-year thing from last year, we're not. Maybe that's on, I'll own it. Maybe you gotta be better than not being able to see that kind of stuff. Right. And I think we all recognize that it was going to be a hurdle for Hutchinson to get fully back.
Yeah.
But, having them look like the way they've looked in the last little bit on defense specifically, giving up big plays and there's nothing else to say. It's just, let's go to the Cowboys.
All right.
And there's not much to say there either,
Yeah. I mean, look, Cowboys, we're 7-5. Cowboys are 6-5-1. This game is going to be, I think, a lot closer than I had anticipated a few weeks back. A few weeks back, I was like, oh, Cowboys are done. Defense can't figure it out. Offense cannot.
I thought the same thing. I did.
And now here they are, they're gelling. The defense is really starting to figure it out. Their offense, I don't want to say they're unbeatable, but my goodness, throwing a CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens is like a cheat code.
And they just Ferguson, yeah.
And you know what they do? They take shots down the field. Probably something that we should start doing. It is what it is. And
but all of a sudden it's Quinnen Williams, and it's like, I don't want to have to deal with Quinnen Williams.
Oh, I know.
Right? I don't want to have to deal with everything they got going on. And you know what's going to happen in this game? And I'm going to spontaneous combust. Ezra who's going to make a play, and I'm going to.
Oh, he's 100%. You know who's going to? Go ahead and bet it now. James Houston for a sack. Go ahead. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
You and I have fallen into a black hole, buddy.
I know. And I was fine with like moving on from him because he wasn't getting the job done. He couldn't stay healthy. It's like, how many chances does a guy get?
Yeah.
But you gave up on the guy, which is fine. He went around the league a little bit, and here he is. He's figuring things out.
It's the absolute perfect metaphor for the Lions season. If James Houston comes in here and has a day, like it is, it's just like you couldn't sum it up more perfectly. I think that should be our preview for the Lions. We're done. That's it.
He leads the team in sacks. He's got 4.5. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Lions, this might be a spot to potentially get some things figured out offensively, but is Amon-Ra going to play? I mean,
I doubt it.
I don't think so. He's dealing with an ankle, and of course we are the team that plays back-to-back Thursdays. Of course, we're that team. And I get it. Dallas is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But we are too. And it's like, if there was any team that could have used an extra 2 to 3 days, it was us. And it is what it is.
That extra 2 to 3 days after the Dallas game,
which could get you right to LA. And that's the thing. Like, this is still a must-win game. They're all must-win game. Every game's a must-win in the NFL. We know that. Yeah. But the Lions have given themselves no leash at all to have any. They have not given themselves any room for error, and they've had a lot of errors. So, to me, this is an absolute must-win. I thought the season was on the line at Thanksgiving, but without question, after what happened, Week 14, this is season on the line. If you don't win here, I don't see how you can go into the Rams game with any confidence of beating them on the road in LA.
That's the thing, is they're going to have to go at least 4-1 to get into the playoffs, and I suppose you could lose to Dallas and finish 4-0.
It's tough,
but that means you're beating the Rams. It's the Rams, Minnesota. The Rams, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Chicago, right?
Yes. I
feel like you could probably, if you get hot, you could run the table in those 4 matchups. I don't know that they've done anything that makes you think that they could string together 4 good performances where they're not going to have issues against any of those teams. Right? Like, Minnesota's already beat them. Chicago's playing pretty well right now. I don't want to have to. I wouldn't want to have to go into Chicago in Week 18 and have to win for your play. That would just be the worst.
Yeah, it is the worst, man.
Maybe we should feel that coming.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. Like, and that, like, I've seen articles of like, here's 20 ways the Lions can get in. Here's 5 ways the Lions can do this. And it's like, guys, reality is what it is. Like, you got to try to catch a Seattle team that, even though their offense looks like it may be hit or miss at times, they still got a really good defense.
Yeah.
San Francisco's, they're making the playoff. San Francisco's getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're not catching the Rams. And
what would Jackson Smith and Jigma do against the Lions defense with no pressure on Darnold? No.
He would carve them up.
Yeah.
He'd carve them up.
Yeah.
And the same thing we might be seeing that with CeeDee Lamb in a 2 days, 3 days, or whatever it is. Like, that's the thing. It just, we've got a lot of problems across the board, and I don't know. I do not like this matchup. I get we're favored by 3, but we're the home team, so we're an automatic 3. They give you 3 from the rip, so I don't know. I worry about it. It's Dallas. They're trending in the right direction. The way that some calls have gone, it makes it feel like, all right, we gave Detroit their 2 years. They're good. Get them out of here. We need Dallas back in here. We need the Rams in here. We need other things moving. And I'm not saying it's Detroit versus everybody. I'm not saying that at all, but it does feel that way sometimes.
100% it does. Like you think he called a timeout, so you're giving him the timeout. On what planet does that happen?
Right.
Stop it.
Exactly. But, and then you go, that might have been the call that altered what happened in that game. And it may have altered what happens with the Lions season of making the playoffs and whatnot. And then you go back to, 2023. Lions lose because Taylor Decker didn't report or whatever it was. And that was in Dallas. If that doesn't happen, they probably are the 1 seed and they have the NFC Championship game at home. You think that's a lot different than, I don't know.
I could use a therapist after we're done talking.
This is the therapy session, buddy.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot. There's so many stones to uncover. And I don't know. I don't really have like a key player to watch on offense. I don't really have a key player to watch on defense in this game. It's all of them. It's everybody. It's every single player because they've got 46, 47 players that they dress, and then they have their 5 or 6 inactives, and it is what it is.
So does Terry and Arnold return and DJ Reed good to go, and you feel like, all right, your pieces in the secondary minus Kirby Joseph are there. Okay. You better pressure Dak.
Yeah.
Right? You better pressure Dak. On offense, I think you've said it well. There's a chance that they can do really good things on offense. But is it enough? And the whole thing encapsulated, is it enough to get them over the hurdle against a Cowboys team that's playing really well right now and scoring? I want to say Dallas is one of the teams ahead of Detroit in points per game. And it's because they can hit down the field with ease. They make it look so easy. Javonte Williams is playing good. It's just tough. It's going to be a tough matchup. I mean, again, I'm excited to watch this game. I was excited to watch the Green Bay game.
Yeah.
I was excited to watch them play Philly. I'm excited to watch the Lions players play. It's just, recognizing they have significant limitations that are going to create hurdles for them, bigger hurdles than we knew of going into the season. And now I think there are some people who did feel that there were going to be big hurdles, and congrats, you guys were able to sniff that out. And I mean that truthfully. We're just there's a lot of smart people around, but it's just like, are they going to be able to do enough, both offensively and defensively, to keep themselves in the playoff chase? It pains me to say it, but I worry about that. I don't know that they will, and that's just where they are.
100%. And we've said it a couple times on this show. You'll know what type of team you're getting on Thursday after the first drive.
Yep.
The Lions touch the ball. If they go out and 3 and out, buckle up. It's going to be a long Thursday night. If they go out and put 12 plays together, 75 yards, eat up 6 or 7 minutes and do that, then I'd feel a little bit differently. Yeah. These first and second drives of the game, they cannot get out of their own way, and then they put themselves behind 7, behind 10, and it just hasn't been good enough in the last 7 weeks.
It has not. And the idea of falling behind a little bit here too is like, it's
scary.
It is, because if you have to pass protect and throw to stay in a game, and you become one dimensional, and Dallas knows that, good luck.
Yep. And again, it's scary with the thought of your number one receiver, one of the best receivers in the league, not playing in this game. We both don't think he's going to play, but Jared Goff showed against Green Bay that he can operate the offense without Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra went down after the 5th play of the game.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff was 0 for 3 up to that point. He went and completed 15 straight passes. I don't think people realize that on Thanksgiving. He completed 15 in a row. They put together back-to-back drives where they were long drives and they scored. And they were down 3 prior to the half.
He took some heat. He got hit in those in moments.
Now, granted, the timeout happened and the false start happened and all that, and it could have made it, again, the Packers might have stayed on the field and went for it, or they missed the field goal or whatever. But it could have ended up being 14-13 at half, whichever way you want to look at it. But in hindsight, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if they can figure things out offensively, I would feel a hell of a lot better. And it's like your point. It's crazy. They have the third most yards on offense. They are right behind the Cowboys and Colts in points per game by 0.1 and 0.6, like fractions of a point in here and there. And it's just, I don't know. I really don't know which way to think, or this was a much needed bitch session for me, because this has all been just in my brain, and I feel a lot better getting that out. And I don't know, it's a must win. I don't know if we're going to do it. We don't predict on this show, but maybe we need to reverse the curse. Maybe we need to give a prediction. Maybe that'll right the ship here.
Let's do it. Why not? What the hell? What do we got to lose?
All right. What do you got then?
I'm not Lions. I don't want to do a prediction. I wish I wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, I don't.
No, we're not going back there. That was a bad place. Bad place.
It was a bad place.
Things could be worse. We all need to kind of buckle up with that. Like, this is still a very talented football team going forward.
Yes,
it could be worse.
No, it could be worse. And I guess that's the thing. We could be the Bears. Or Bears. We could be the Browns. We could be the Bears. That'd be awful. We could be the Browns. We could be the Raiders. I mean, we could be the Titans.
Yep.
We've been those teams. So, like, we have somewhat of a vision. We just need to iron out some of the problems and the kinks, and maybe we will. Maybe this is the time. Maybe it's week 14.
It feels a little bit to me like now this is going back in the time machine, but back when the Detroit Red Wings couldn't get over the hurdle and got over the hurdle against Colorado and got smoked in the finals by New Jersey. And that's sort of like, we're never going to get over it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I want to say, I really should know this, but I don't think they made the Cup finals the following year. I think Colorado beat them again. And it was like, no, that's not how it went. Regardless, the point being that some teams in the past have taken a while to kind of clear that final hurdle, and that feels right now like exactly where the Lions are. Yeah. Is there's just a little bit of, it's a little trouble in the road, and if we just take a little bit of a longer view while recognizing that they still have talented pieces kind of everywhere. The window's not closed, no. I think that's the perspective is that we all need to hold on to this concept that it could be so much worse. You could be one of 10 plus teams in the NFL that have no chance. And, the Lions have put themselves where they're the Lions. They're a damn good football team. We all just need to hold on to that.
I'm trying to hold on.
I hear you. I hear you. As far as Thursday, who knows?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Would love your guys' predictions on Lions Cowboys and what is an absolute must win. Obviously, would love to get your thoughts from Thanksgiving against the Packers and that loss. Is the season over? You guys can follow us on Twitter or X at Russ NFL Draft and at Bischoff_Scott. And of course, you can rate, review, and subscribe to the Detroit Lions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms. We'll be back next week. We'll review the Cowboys game, Lions and Cowboys, and then we'll preview what has kind of been a tradition since he left. Matt Stafford versus the Lions, the Rams, and the Lions. We'll get into that next week. So he's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. This has been Bischoff and Brown right here on our therapy session of the Detroit Lions podcast.